sections, and we were able to fill in the class sizes, and that's my recollection anyway. They were looking for how we came up with a number, especially if it was an increase.
One other question I had related to the class sizes. In terms of your planning, how close to limits are you? Because we have the variable, the unknown ages of military kids from year, are there grade levels for which you're really close to the maximum for the number of sections?
We're not close to.
If we got a huge influx in the class going into 4th grade, that's when we have the 2 sections. Then, depending on how many that would, that could cause us to consider, should we have 3 sections? I don't see
What do you
another
call it,
one that we
huge
couldn't
influx?
absorb. But the number, what page that it's on?
6 or 8.
Numbers around, because you had that broken down. So you could
Right at the very beginning.
Yeah. Page 9. What was the,
Page 9.
didn't we have evidence a couple years ago?
That was a kindergarten, wasn't it? Oh, to 7th.
Right,
Yeah,
first year I came, we had.
we were okay, though.
So many in
Yeah, we were,
kindergarten
but
that
they
we
were
added a section
but we
just
did
before
have-
school started.
Big bubble in 1 year.
Yeah, and we went to 4 sections that year. But then the number went down and we decreased that teacher the following year, back down to 3 sections. But if you look on page 9, you can see, what we're projecting, just moving the kids forward. And the only grade level that would have 2 sections is 4th grade. That's that small class moving up. And the numbers are such that if you divide them out, they're too big for 2.
Yep. We've always been right in that.
That 38 that's going on, 9 of those kids are military. So it would have to be it'd swell in one grade
Yeah.
level to bump us in. I'm not really, right now, looking at these numbers, I'm not really concerned that we would be in that position, but you never know. And we certainly didn't expect 10 freshmen.
The only question I had was a special ed question. On page 4 of the highlighted version, about 2/3 of the way down, under professional technical services, services and cost of teacher assistant in non-public day school. What are the circumstances that really provide such extensive support?
That is a special education placement. It's considered a non-public day school.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so like a sergeant rehab, Bradley, things like that. So the kids, the IEP team has determined that the child's needs are such that, in our case, we have one such aide who actually rides the bus with his student for safety reasons, transporting the student from home to school. That cost is covered there. And another student, once he reaches his special education classroom site, is in need of additional staff than what is already provided by the center. So it is a non-public, absolutely would throw you for a loop, absolutely. But that's specific to a special education.
Thank you.
The governor's budget figures. I didn't go back and pull out that confusing spreadsheet that we had like 2 months ago. Remember that had the professional development and all that. So it looks like we're getting a $4,000 increase here, but wasn't that on that spreadsheet as well, and it's all counterbalanced by all the other losses?
Well, because that new 4,000, I went back and looked at the entire publication. They didn't really break out what might have been taken from which pot. And for the state aid, what I did was I looked at what we're getting this year. And this year, they took our allotment of $381, and then they subtracted out pension reform, 103, and then they subtracted out stabilization funds to get us down to like 277. The pension reform, you know, you'll see that we will this year be paying less. But going forward, if those types of numbers are in there, we accounted for that in the budget. So unless there's going to be additional reform, like we're going by the number that they've already projected will be our percentage, our share.
Right.
So if it's proposed that we're going to get more because of reform, that reform hasn't been passed yet. I think they're talking about the COLA again, perhaps. I'm not really sure. And then the stabilization funds, you know, that's supposed to be to supplement. And so any reasons that we could use that money aren't in here because that would be supplanting. So if it's an offset, it's because, you know, we would use that for an additional project, like getting the tech thing that was not in our budget, and it was additional funds. So that's why we're still predicting that we're going to get less state aid.
But the governor's talking about taking the stabilization and making that his contribution towards state aid. So, and it's really unclear how he's planning on doing that. So, giving you our best shot at trying to figure out what he's talking about.
I mean, as we go forward, if we get more information, we can certainly adjust that number, whichever way it should go.
Well, and it's his number anyway, it's not,
Yes, and that was-
it's not the legislature's number,
Right,
so.
so
We'll
if at
go
any
with it.
time you think that number should be something different, we're happy to.
Yeah, it's all in the air, I mean.
I mean, if the
I think it should
commissioner,
be something different.
if the commissioner is successful and she brings $100 million to the state, none of that is going to affect any district's operating budget.
Right.
Because it's all going to be geared for whatever projects are in that grant. So, you know, I think that that's going to be difficult for the public to understand, that all of a sudden it looks like there's this huge influx of money coming into the education
Well, it's just,
system of the
it's just like the
state.
stimulus money anyway, it's hard for us to understand how's that working anywhere, and it's so finite and discrete to where it is going. You know, you gotta see the big sign up on West Main Road in Middletown to know what's going on. Maybe that's why we need a big sign on here, stimulus money.
I have another special ed question.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I emailed these ahead of time. I noticed that there was a decrease in tuition for special ed for private schools, and a big increase in tuition at North Kingstown. Do we have students who have moved from private schools back to North Kingstown? I was just wondering if you had some explanation about that.
We don't pay tuition to a private school, with the exception of one student.
No, it was tutoring, sorry.
Tutoring. Thank you.
My voice is not great.
Throw me for a loop there, Julia.
Sorry.
What I did with the tutoring is, everything was under one umbrella, the way that it has been built. What Jane and I went through and did is try to, especially under the new system, is that it's now broken down, is if the student attends North Kingstown, there'll be a tutoring line for that. If the student attends a private school and has a 504 plan, you'll see the tutoring broken down into that. So we literally went kid by kid, took what's in the 504, what's in, you know, what we're obligated to pay. One of the big changes is we have a current student who will be going to NK next year. So the budget, it looks like it appears to be in law now. We'll go to the NK budget then for next year because we're actually breaking it down by school. And that's a change in how we've been budgeting things. And so in some places you'll see what looks like a large decrease, but that's because the increase shows up where it should, okay? There was an overall decrease, if you took all the tutoring numbers, there was an actual decrease in what we're paying out for tutoring, that's based on actuals of students. And then one of the big changes that we've done in special education is the type of tutoring that we tend to look for out of the district is Orton-Gillingham tutoring, which is a very specified reading support system. We have now paid for our own teachers to be trained in that, so we can get that done during the school day. And so I think over time, you'll see that come back and pay.